Flower gone.
Flowers look really pretty in here.
Yep.
The flowers go. I have a feeling. I thought there was a few too here for church.
Yeah, they should.
They grabbed them all, didn't they?
No, they should. Who took them? The
I don't
funeral
know.
guy?
Here's the attendance figures.
Yeah, but the funeral guy was the one that said we normally keep 2 for the
You know, I repeat the question. Because he
Oh,
was
sure.
Where do we see this? This isn't a church up in Minnesota, the exact same altar. Bach, Minnesota.
The same altar. Now, where would you be? Really? I wonder if she did.
Okay. Okay, you take that.
Some flowers. The grand kids.
I gotta take a peek at these up close now.
Yeah, they're really pretty.
Roses. These are roses in there too, aren't they? I thought they were.
Yeah, wide open.
Those are so pretty.
Pretty 5-year-old.
Huh?
I was just talking to the camera.
Oh.
That's the furnace that they had in Orient. That we used to dry our gloves on. Seems like it. Gotta keep it up.
So what time should I pick you up?
Well, see, here's the thing. My very best girlfriend just came into town, and I know she'd be dying to go to this. Well, I just can't let her stay home alone.
I'll tell you what. Why don't you just go with your friend?
No way.
I couldn't do that.
What are you looking at?
No, come on. You are the next
Sean?
guy. Really.
Where?
Charlie, this is Stanley.
Karina?
I bet.
Jeez, tough crowd.
I disagree.
Ryan?
I think I'm wearing her down. But you know what you need? You need a little change of pace. Tonight, I'm going to take you on a love safari, deep into the darkest heart of the urban jungle.
Christopher?
Tell me more, Paula. The Coco Bongo Club. Hottest new joint in town. Only the creme de la creme need apply. So how do we get? Are you kidding? Leave it to me. Trust me, buddy. This is going to be the perfect night on the town.
How'd you know? Could you feel that?
My legs, and he's taking a picture. Oh, good.
Killer at 3 o'clock.
Why don't you give me a foot massage? Esther. I really would like a foot massage. Well, I was being mean to her,
Yeah.
you know. I wasn't really playing with her legs.
Carol, do something really nice. Ooh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Don't hold back now. There's the back.
David.
Hi.
Hi.
Can't stop, you know, just gotta keep filming.
I know it. I know. That's the way it is when you got those.
What's this one over here? This one's got a little problem over here, I'd say. That's Esther.
Oh, good.
Salt and pepper.
How you doing, David?
Fine, how are you?
Pretty good.
I was in
Good.
your driveway today.
Were you?
Did you have a okay day?
Not very muddy.
Different day.
It was different.
Yeah.
It was nice, though.
Oh, it's actually
It was a nice day.
It was kind
Yeah.
of chilly.
Kind of chilly.
Not that gray hair isn't striking, but she maybe doesn't have hair, you know, but she's
That would be
always
Julie.
been
She
very,
looks so
really...
nice. She always has her hair.
David?
Yes, Julie? I'm just doing a little movie making.
Well, you look so pretty today.
Yeah.
Doesn't she look great? I love her dress.
Your hair still looks like you just ironed it. I mean, curled it.
I ironed my dress this morning, remember?
I know.
Remember? And now I could use it again. This dress really
Jim is still madly in love with her.
Is that what he told you?
He says he wishes she would get old, catch up to him, but she never does.
Jim said that?
Yeah, Jim said that. I wish she'd catch up to me, but
She'll never catch up with Jim.
No.
She'll never catch up with
That was
Jim
so
no matter
cute,
how
wasn't it, Dan?
no matter how hard she tries.
Gee, I had about 6 people stick their tongue out at me so far.
I
I'm
won't.
not going to do that anymore. That
Because
doesn't look
when
nice.
you look back on it,
Then you think, oh, I wish I
That
hadn't
was-
done that. I know.
Well, what do you want to do?
Well, I want to.
I'm trying
There's a new one.
I'm trying to think what are we doing?
Sure.
What looked good on TV? What looks
it's just the gnat.
Outside, yeah.
Okay, this way. No, this way.
Outside filming looks great. Outside filming looks really good.
outside filming?
Yeah.
Forget it.
Okay, I'll turn it off.
On the refrigerator, on Saturday, we would always bake a cake and put it in the basement on top of the cream can for Sunday. We lived in a 2-room house. That's the old, now she's talking about her childhood again. The old house, later built on another room and a bedroom. Mom's uncle was always with us until he died. After the new house, a 30 by 30 full basement lived in the new part, and we would take his dinner and meals over to him.
You would have stayed in the old house.
He stayed in the old house. The uncle stayed in the old house.
You
They
know
all
who that
moved.
is, the uncle?
Tony Leitner, I
Tony
think.
Leitner, right.
I think so. Don't remember, but it seems he was always sitting in the rocking chair. My dad hauled all the lumber from Seneca for the new house. Mr. Paulson, a neighbor, did the cement work in building the house. There were dances held there, programs, and so on. Lots of times in the evening, Mom, kids, and all would sit up in the kitchen and strip the horse feathers for pillows. One feather bed and feather beds. We all had and got one when we left home. We did a lot of crocheting by kerosene lamp, and later on an Aladdin lamp came along. Lucille Problesso, there she was a teacher, was our teacher one year, and we just loved her. One day she said, I'm making a teddy bear, and we thought, a real teddy bear? And she called it a sleeper nightgown with legs. Now they still have teddy bears. Henry was the firstborn child on December 1912 after 5 girls. He was the pride and joy of my folks, and I think he always was. We kids used to stay overnight with Aesop's during school years, and one night I remember George, a 19-year-old lad, crawled in bed with us after we had gone to bed, but we got rid of him. Crawled in bed, but we got rid of him.
We got rid of him.
How old was she? Was she?
How old was she?
1912?
Who else was in that?
She was 10.
Oh, Henry was in
Well, they've been
1912. Well, she was 10
Well, I
years
don't
old.
know. She
You
skips
know,
around so much.
I
She's
know.
pretty high to
Yeah,
die.
she jumps.
I don't know.
I don't know.
After we had gone, but we got rid of him. We went after the mail on horseback, or went, or with the buggy. I don't know if that's triflers.
Two chicks.
Oh yeah,
Two
okay.
chicks.
Two chicks had a car by then, and we met them when our dog was along, and they run over the dog, not killing him. And he died. Two chicks.
Two chicks.
Dirty two chicks. That's when
They-
they peed in the shoes. They're the same ones that peed in her shoes.
They-
Over the dog, not killing him, and he came out yelping, and the horse
I
did
gotta
that,
meet these
and he got
guys.
scared and really run, and we can't remember just what happened. Mom was along that time. Frances Stauffer, the oldest girl, always had their table set for a dozen or so people with juice and so on the table, and that was tempting, but they never gave it to her. We had to wait in their kitchen until the mail was sorted, and if we got there too early, The mail was brought up, if we got there too early. The mail was brought up from Highmore by a team of horses, 32.5 miles one way, twice a week, Tuesday and Saturday. After milking, we kids would fill beer bottles and hang them in the tank right under the spout that run into the tank to get cold, and we would enjoy cold milk. Cream was put into the cream cans, and when full, a trip to town to ship to Lakeville, Minnesota. We shipped to Lakeville too. We would gather to the fall when the weather got real cold, pack them into barrels, and ship to Chicago. They must have been a bit stale when they got there. I'd say they were rotten.
A bit, yeah.
Although they were put into a refrigerator car and on their way. We ate plenty of turkeys, beef, and ducks and chickens, which we raised. We also had a nice pair of peacocks. Sometimes they would get up in the haymound and the big door opened and they would spread their tails beautiful. This is a shy bird. In the fall they lose their tail and we could find the feathers. One died, so Mom cut off his tail with the back end of the peacock, salted it down, the flesh, and after several weeks it was dry and she hung it in the northwest corner of the living room. That hung there as long as I could remember.
Oh, yeah, that peacock.
In what house?
In John's house. It was spread out like this and hung in the corner of the living room. It was always there. I thought it was part of the house.
I don't know whatever happened to it. I don't know what happened to it after Don and Viv got married. Nor do we know where the picture that J. O'Hagan painted went to. Could be in the attic. Never can get up there, although I did get up there one time and got the bottom part of the lamp. And Levon had an 80-year-old lady paint a globe for it. That part is different than the original one was, but she painted the roses the same. Don's girl took the clock. Our teacher, Rose Bowman, painted a red rose with leaves on the glass front of the door, which hid in the room. I asked Don for a round table that Mom had come in the front room, and he said Don bought it.
No, they're not.
They got the most of the things that were in the house, rockers, beds, dressers, and so on. One time, some gypsies came to our place and drove up to the house and said, "Lady, you have such nice hair." And by then, the rest of the gypsies were in the hen house picking the eggs and catching chickens, and then on their way. Then they and the Indians would come in the fall and go to the straw pile.
I remember that.
And there was always some grain in small piles where the thrashing machine would run, and they would gather up that grain. Maybe got a bushel or two by each straw pile.
Indians.
They spread it.
No, they just took it.
They just came and took it without saying yes. They just expected to.
They never hurt anyone, but we were afraid of them. I used to herd cattle on horseback and help drive cattle that were sold to Vertmeer. I enjoyed every bit of that. After we got home from school, we could always fry the leftover dumplings or whatever if we were left home alone while the folks would go someplace and we couldn't go along. The first thing we did was fry raw potatoes. That was a treat, and Mom, a German lady, made lots of dumplings, pork and sauerkraut and noodles, smone, raised donuts, and all homemade bread. Each week there were 6 to 8 loaves baked. Every Monday a.m. we washed clothes by a push and pull handle on the washing machine. Boiled the white clothes to try to keep them white, carried in the water, heated it on the stove, put in some lye for the hard part of the water to come to the top, and it would be skimmed off. Hard to carry water into the house for use to drinking. Everyone drank out of the same dipper. We kids were all born at home without a doctor except Henry. Seems he was grown to something in Mother's stomach. Don't know for sure, but doctor had to help her. Although Mrs. Whitty came and Mom came to her when she had her children. Neighbors help neighbors. The Whitty kids were quite shy. One time I drove by, and when they seen me coming, hid in the ditch. Dad finally bought our first second-hand car from Martin Dinslick. Julia learned to drive it first, and that year we went to the fair, all wearing boys' caps and top down. We had dry years, and Dad would say, if we could, the top of the car.
It was like a
And they wore caps.
to keep their hair.
We had dry years, and Dad would say, if we could just get our seed back, it would help. My dad joined the Catholic Church and was a kind, thin man, had lots of backaches, but worked most of the time. Remember, Ted Ruger was our hired man. He was also a man from Germany. He also took Alka-Seltzer every AM to keep and kept his bottle on the ledge on the cupboard. As far as I can remember, I had Rose Dill for my first teacher, and she would hit my ears with the pencil when I couldn't get what was going on.
Oh, that is so cruel.
Alta Pratt, Rose Bowman, Ella Zemlicka, Bessie Vondra, and Sam Hilliard was the only man teacher I can remember. I made it through the 8th grade, and we had a man teacher, Mr. Swenson, and he stayed with us, and he thought he liked me. And we would sit on the steps.
Who was it now? A teacher? Her 8th grade teacher. Oh.
Well,
what was his name?
I made it through the grade, and we had a man teacher, Mr. Swenson. And he stayed with us, and he thought he liked me. And we were going upstairs.
He would have been named Swenson. Wonder what they... He was there sitting on the chair.
The kissing booth?
No, I wondered.
He would go out some evening. He would go out some evening and get drunk, so I gave him.
Good for Grandma. Smart, wise lady.
Yeah. I went out with a divorced man a few times.
We're getting to the good stuff now. Yeah. No wonder she didn't tell us. She never told us that. That's his I never told either.
Keep going. Okay. Carol David, he came to thrash for us, but that didn't last long either. Julia went out with Ralph Woolridge, and they got serious, but religion put that to a halt. Well, by now, I'm through the 8th grade. See, she kind of skips around.
Yeah, well,
I had to take a couple of grades twice, as I couldn't get it.
Oh, that's where some of us get our...
Why you was hitting her on the
She
head.
probably just didn't turn in her homework.
Mr. Swenson boarded with us, and as he taught our school, and I was through the 8th grade, and he thought he liked me, and we would sit on the stair steps. This is the second step. We would sit on the stair steps and visit. Okay?
Now we got the question answered.
Yeah.
We would like to go out. He would like to go out with the boys and get loaded, and our romance ended. One day, Dad and us kids on our way to Orient Catechism in the wagon had a 12-dozen crate of eggs in the back, and Walter Bourne was going to town too. So the men had a race to see whose horses could run the fastest.
She told me about this.
Of course, never thinking of the eggs in the back. No doubt we had many broken eggs, and suppose Walter Bourne was laughing about it. In October, Charlie asked my mother if I could marry him, and she agreed. So on November 6, 1923, we were married in a double wedding. My sister Julia and Frank Palmer at the Catholic Church in Orient by Father Krebs. We were dressed alike. Carrie Booth made our white satin dresses with silver collar and white ribbon, streamers, and a bouquet of flowers and a rosebud on the end. After the wedding, lots of relatives and friends were there, and we drove Frank's car to Redfield for pictures. Anna Krebs went along to see to it that the veil and everything, flowers and so on, were fixed nicely and on our way over, our hind wheel went rolling down the road into a stubble field. We can't remember how we got it fixed, but got to Redfield for pictures. We all arrived home again, and a small bunch of people came to shivaree us. Lunch and candy bars, which was their treat. Not enough beds for everyone to sleep. Now listen to this.
This is really funny.
So Julia and I, they're the brides, Julia and I slept in my bedroom, and the grooms slept on the floor in another room with someone in that bed, and the men on the floor.
How romantic.
Honeymoon.
That was their honeymoon.
I'll bet that was a surprise to us all. Minnie Heller had a glass shower for us, and we
Now,
got
does anybody believe that?
Oh, that's the truth.
I
heard that many
I've
times.
heard it.
I've heard that one too before.
I did hear that.
She told us.
I heard that one
That's
before.
true.
Heller's had a glass shower for us, and we got a lot of nice things. We also got a lot of nice wedding presents. I still have most of them in my 2 china closets. Mr. and Mrs. Stryker gave us a nice sauce dish with 6 sauce dishes, Heller's a cut glass sugar and creamer, Phil Foreman, a large bowl with lavender flowers. Pink pickle dish, Rose Foreman.
Cut it anytime.
Bowl with apples, Phil Foreman. Julia, 12 glass sherbet. Mother, a set of basket of flowers, blue dinner set. Florence and Ray, creamer and sugar. Variegated blue and pink.
Straight for straight for.
Hey, Lamont, read that
This one
again.
up here was Florence and Ray Woodley, those two. You know, they've been in there.
Lamont, now,
ever since she
read
got
that part
married.
about, I'm sorry, we just turned this off.
They've been in there all the way.
Back up
70
2 sentences.
years.
Back up to where?
This, the presents.
To the presents. Keller's had a glass shower for us, and we got a lot of nice things. We also got a lot of nice wedding presents. I still have most of them in my 2 china closets. Mr. and Mrs. Straggler gave us a nice sauce dish with 6 sauce dishes. The sauce dishes are all broken. Heller, a cut glass, sugar and creamer. Phil Foreman, a large bowl with
Point.
lavender flowers.
Well, there's the cut glass
There's the
dishes.
cut glass. Where's the lavender?
That's that one right up there.
Oh, right there. Yeah.
Where?
See the one on the
Top
left?
one on the left.
Top
In the back?
The bowl. Top in the left. Yeah.
Sitting in the back? Okay.
Pink pickle dish, Rose Foreman. A bowl with apples, Phil Foreman. That's, I think it's over.
A bowl with apples. I thought I saw that one.
Right here.
Oh, yeah, right there.
Okay.
In the middle.
Phil Foreman, let's see.
Oh, sherbet
Oh,
glasses.
yeah.
There's 6 on each side.
Mother, a set of basket of flower blue dinner set.
Oh, that's her first set of dishes. That's right there, aren't she?
Yeah, right down there. That was
The bottom.
right,
That's
right
all
Okay.
that's left.
That was her first
One
one.
of dishes. A platter, a little one, a little one.
Okay.
Ray and Florence, a creamer and sugar, variegated blue and pink
That's
flowers.
that one.
That's that one.
Right there.
Frank Foreman, a sugar and creamer, brown trees, and a farmhouse. That's that one. Aunt Mary Stauffer.
Get them all in one.
Yeah, remembers all this.
Aunt Mary Stauffer, a
It's like a
tablecloth.
museum.
Earhart Magnum, the punch bowl.
That's there. That's there. That's
And
Punch bowl.
12 cups. Charlie's mother, a beautiful jelly dish on a leg.
Where is
Right
it?
there.
Oh, this one right here. That one there.
Silverware, canned fruit,
70.
a
93 would have been
bowl
70.
tree with a sailboat. That's it.
Wedding gifts. That was a wedding gift?
Tony Leitner blankets. The beer pitcher was something my dad brought
Yes.
from Germany, and many
Remember that.
more.
And they
Um,
fixed taffy in it.
My folks
Beer
gave
version.
me,
Oh, okay.
my folks gave me $200 and some chickens.
That's a lot of
That's
money.
a lot of money.
3 head of
That's
cattle.
more than we gave to
How much?
More than I got from my wedding.
This is 70 years ago.
That's a lot of money.
That is.
Fine. $2 and
$200, some chickens, 3 head of cattle, canned fruit, sewing machine, high chair, round table and 6 chairs.
Wait a minute. They got a high chair for a wedding present?
Wait a minute.
Yeah. Yvonne was on her way. No wonder they didn't need
Too
No
much,
wonder they didn't have to
too
sleep in the
much
same bed on their honeymoon. On the stairway, too.
I heard about that
Hey, just, Lamont, just tell me if I should turn this off or anything.
I'll tell you about it.
too. Okay.
Just, Lamont, it's like, this is the signal.
2 pictures in frames. I don't know really what that is. Kitchen, well, it could, kitchen, kitchen cabinet, kettles, dippers, and so on. Mr. Bowler, a small rocking chair, 2 feather pillows, blankets, pillowcases, potatoes.
Potatoes.
Charlie, Levon, and I would go bullhead fishing at Preacher Matters Lake. That was that little lake when you go 2 miles north up.
Half a fire.
Mhm. And that's as far as we could afford to go. I didn't know anything about fishing. Charlie's folks gave us 6 horses, 3 sows, 2 cows, harnesses, brass bed, mattress, sheets, pillows and cases, kitchen table, and 2 white chairs and canned fruit.
What did she rate this?
We moved in with Charlie's folks for 6 weeks while the house on the Withy house was being fixed, papered, painted, chimney fixed. This is where Pat lived later on. We stayed there for 2 years and kind of farmed with Charlie's dad. We had no honeymoon. Left home to my new home at Charlie's folks. Charlie had corn to pick by hand yet, and he hired Art Whitty to help. Around Christmas time, we moved over to the Whippy farm, 1/2 mile northeast of Ed Palmer's farm. I really was lonesome at first, leaving a big family and being in the house alone. We had a two-seated Ford car with side curtains, cellophane for windows, which helped keep the wind out. Charlie milked those 3 cows, and I really felt like I should help, but he said he could do it. Cooking was hard for me as I didn't really do too much of it at home, always out helping my dad. So I'm sure, where am I at now? That's 16.
Right down the bottom of the page.
I know, but, so I'm sure, and that doesn't seem to, oh, I'm sure the meals weren't as tasty as when his mother cooked. She was a super cook. Fresh pie every day as they hired help, and they had Pat, Louise, and Marion at home yet. Charlie would say, "These pickles don't taste like Mom's did." And of course that didn't help.
How dare he?
Then you make a funny face.
Yeah. The house had a small kitchen with table and 2 chairs, blue and white kitchen stove with a reservoir which was kept full of water, papered walls, dining room, round table, 6 chairs, china closet, high chair, bedroom, brass bed, dresser, small closet. We stayed there 2 years and moved out to the Ferdinand Meyer farm, 3 miles west and 1/2 mile north, now owned by Harv Blatchford. First few nights Levon would be all pimply and red spots, and I called Mrs. Whitty and asked her what she thought was the matter, and of course she didn't tell me. Then I found out I had bed bugs in the house, had my pleated skirt hanging in the other bedroom, and in each pleat were bugs.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh. I'm going to go back up here now because she wrote up here. Levon was born at the Withy farm. My mother and Charlie's mother came over. I think it was Dr. Katz was a doctor. I stayed in bed 10 days. Mom stayed for a few days, then Lena came. Lena helped me name Levon. Frank and Julia were her sponsors. Had them.
No wonder she always called you Lena.
Yeah. Frank and Julia sponsors had them over for dinner, and Evelyn was born then too. Okay, now I'm going on back to the bed bugs. So I knew I had to get busy and spray and put kerosene on the bed corners. They were everywhere. There was a stepladder going up to the attic in our bedroom, and behind each board there they were, and also in the attic. Well, I fought bed bugs all the while we were there, but got them under control. The chicken house was an old cook car and an addition added to it, and they were in there too. Then I called Charlie's mother and told her my troubles, and Mrs. Whitty was rubbering and laughing about it. I said I was wondering if some straw or hay needles got into the mattress. The bugs didn't bite us, just tender little Levon.
Oh, tender little Levon.
Isn't that cute? So I soon found out, got them under control right away in that second bedroom as Lena came and boarded with us while she taught the hall school a mile south. She would walk, and if the weather got too bad, Charlie would get her. We milked cows, and when Charlie was in the field, I would take the baby buggy. This is what just killed me. And if you'd know that land down there, it's really hilly and bumpy and full of rocks down there. It's west of that south quarter. And I would take the baby buggy with Levon in and go out into the pasture to bring in the cows, and that was a big pasture and all hills. First down the hill and then up the hill, and that wasn't an easy job. One year we milked 11 cows. We separated the milk, sold the cream, had a cave there where it would keep cool, fed the milk to the pigs, and they would all go nuts to get to the trough first. Had it fixed so the trough had a foot on this side of the fence and they couldn't get at you. Those hungry pigs caught and ate many a spring fry or old hen. They always got grain to eat, and once they tasted blood and chickens, they would catch and eat them up. Once I got a chicken away from one, and I dressed it and fried it, but it didn't taste good. Charlie drove did all the field work with horses. We had no tractor and no one else either. I'd send lunch with him when he farmed that quarter land where the windmill stands today. We built him there and found a house there. But in the meantime, we bought the land by the schoolhouse. Came harvest time, I'd go along to shock grain, and so on, taking our lunch. I always had a garden and set hens on eggs to hatch in 3 weeks. No good place to keep them, only under wooden boxes I'd fix up so the hen couldn't get out and the chicks could run free. I set those hens, and sometimes when you would check them, they'd be standing up or would have scratched the eggs around, and there would be broken eggs, so you would turn her loose, or one hen would get in with another, and her eggs would be cold, sometimes too cold, that was another story. Bartley O'Donnell built a 2-room house by the schoolhouse, and we moved that granary where it now sits on our farm and put a cement floor in for the car, and the sides were used for grain. Built onto the barn and used part of it for hogs. We knew there wasn't much water there, but a good shallow well 1/2 mile east, so we thought we'd get water easy. But that was a mistake. I can't remember just when we moved from the Blatchford farm, and there was a shortage of water too. We made some beer there and had some in the cave when one Sunday a.m. we went to church, and we think it was Harry Whitty who stole some of it.
And Harry. Their hired man.
No, well, he wasn't a hired man. He was just, they were neighbors.
Stole their
By
beer.
now we had a 1-seated car, and I can just see Levon after I got her dressed in her lavender cloth bonnet. It was so cute. Wish I would have kept it. As soon as we left there, Harold Blatchford got a well digger, and the first hole west of the house found a good well. There is where I really got lonesome, down in the hills. Never saw anyone go by unless they were coming there. Of course, when Lena came and stayed with us, it was better. We set up a heating stove in the kitchen to help keep warm. Burned coal and wood. No rugs, just bare floors, and they were cold. My dad would come and get Lena on weekends. No cellar under the house, but made good use of the cave. Howard and Marie live there now in a trailer, and Harold lives in our house. He built on and has a good well. We lived in a 2-room house, had to have a hired man, Fritz Zeltner. Now we're back to our house, where we out on the farm. We lived in a 2-room house, had to have a hired man, Fritz Zeltner, when Charlie had tonsils out. Then Louise Palmer stayed with me while he was in the hospital in Miller.
Louise.
That was his sister.
Yeah.
That was Dad's sister. And she died when she was about 21 with double pneumonia.
And Mom doesn't write about any of that. Dad lost 2 brothers, wasn't it, and a sister when they were young.
Yeah, but
young.
they all
She
died
doesn't
before they
mention
got
it.
married.
Well, that's probably...
Louise was the one that died after they got married.
Okay.
I again set hens to hatch chickens, turkeys. Those little turkeys would get out of the shell, and right away after they were dry would get out from under the hen and fall out of the nest and get cold and die unless you got there in time to take them out of the nest and keep them warm until they were all hatched. Then give them back to the hen, fix a pen for them where the mother hen would be locked in and the chicks and turkeys could enjoy running around. One time I had 10 or more of those little houses built, and there was a Sunday school picnic at Ricker's Trees, and before I got the kids packed in the car, plus the picnic dinner, a storm was coming up, and Charlie said, "You'd better not go," but we went anyway. And it did really rain, and the little chicks were scattered all over in the garden, under the peas and everywhere, and when the rain was over, we came back home. No picnic in the grove, but in the church basement. Charlie had picked up a lot of those little chickens and had them in the house, trying to warm them up, and what a mess. I'll never forget that. Only the oven to try to dry them out. Can you imagine drying chickens out in an oven?
They tried everything.
Darcy, how about rabbit?
Cook their meat. Dryer. Yeah, Darcy could imagine it.
Yeah.
I'm the only one.
I'm sure there was quite a lot. That was quite a loss. We farmed with horses. Roy Weiss, my brother, helped us and had to sleep up in the attic, going outside and crawl up the ladder to go to bed. In the a.m., I'd take the broom and rap on the kitchen ceiling to wake him up, and it's time to rise, which he did. That's the absolute truth.
This is what
She always-
Esther was just talking about this.
I
Yeah.
remember when she used to do that.
We traded a load of horses for our first tractor, a small one. When Roger Payne came up from Rehites to get the horses, we loaded them, and the driver was just ready to leave, and one horse jumped up and hit his head on the top of the cab, fell over and died. This poor man was so scared to go back to Heights, as Mr. Payne was a mean man, but he did go, and the next time we went to Heights, he gave us heck for the horse dying. Wasn't our fault. He brought up the tractor in exchange for the horses, as we didn't have money to buy a tractor. In the 30s, there weren't any crops to harvest, and the hay was scarce. We had to sell and let the government give us $5 for a cow, $1 for a pig. I'm not too sure anymore. And we drove those cattle and hauled the pigs to Orient, where a large pit was dug, and they drove the cattle in, and Johnny Weideman would shoot. Harry Whitty said Johnny would skin some of the cattle and sell the hide. We kept a few milk cows, the horses, and took one load of cattle to Iowa to have wintered. Charlie went out to Don Weiss's and mowed Russian thistles for feed, and it wasn't good.